Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Peck,
I'm Chris.
and tonight we're going to be handicapping the upcoming Royal Rumble match. Oh boy,
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch this product that much.
we're going to run you through the whole card, but we should only talk about two matches. But I feel that the other ones are so lackluster. These aren't even Raw-worthy matches that I feel it's worthy of mention.
I mean, you watch, I watch TNA. There's bad booking there, and there's bad booking over here too. Are we living in the era of just bad booking?
Now, before we get into each of these matches individually, guys, I'm just going to pose the question, throw this out there, and then read through the card, and then we're going to talk about each match individually. But does this sound like a pay-per-view quality card?
Nah.
I mean, not necessarily the main events, because obviously you're going to have those on a pay-per-view no matter what. But here's the opening matches. The kickoff show, which we're actually spared from seeing because we're not going to order it at like 7 o'clock.
Good.
Tyson Kidd and Cesaro, who have been buried. Oh god, they're on like sub-level E.
What's the point of having them? Just release them. If they're not living up to your expectation, get rid of them.
Well, what I don't understand is I don't really care about Tyson Kidd. I never thought he was that good. Yeah, the guy can wrestle, but he's like 5'7", and he's just not that good. There's no charisma there. If he wasn't part of the Hart thing, no one would care. You have Cesaro, who I really am not sure what they've tried to do, repackaging his booking. Whatever they've tried, they've given him like 3 different gimmicks, and none of them have worked. He was getting over last year around this time as a face. He was doing the whole giant swing on Khali and Big Show and everything else. And then he just got de-pushed to such a radical degree that I can't even take him seriously anymore. And they're teaming up with Adam Rose. Now, Chris, are you familiar with Adam Rose?
No idea who he is.
Okay. Have you heard any complaint about the guy with a manager in a bunny suit yet?
You?
Anyone? Have you
I
heard
think
about
so.
the guy
Yeah,
with
I heard there's a rabbit on the show. Which, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care what you say about TNA. We don't have rabbits on our show. Just saying. But
wait, on our show? Since when are we part of TNA?
Oh yeah, I guess good point.
We don't
on their show.
It. Yeah, Adam Rose. I thought he actually lost a match by pinfall to the Bunny Rabbit. I don't know. Either
why
way,
watch it? Why
he doesn't
watch
deserve
this?
being anywhere near a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And they're facing the New Day, which is Big E, the midget with the afro. What's his name?
Consequences Creed or whatever.
Actually, sort of.
Yeah, that guy.
Is that Consequences Creed?
I think so. I don't even care what his name is. And who else is with them? R-Truth or somebody?
Yeah, you know what? That's the one I feel bad for. Because
Yeah.
R-Truth has some legitimate talent. He's not a bad wrestler at all. Former TNA or NWA World Heavyweight Champion. The guy can still go. He's just been cursed with horrible gimmicks.
Yeah.
What is that little guy's name? It really doesn't matter.
I don't know. Who cares? Who else is in it? There's Big E and then somebody else?
It's just Big E and R-Truth and then the little afro guy, isn't it?
I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. Who cares?
Yeah, basically.
I mean, it's just crap.
Clearly they're not getting any traction. I don't really watch Main Event or any of that. I don't even know if they're even on that show.
There's too many shows to begin with.
Oh, wait, Kofi Kingston. He's
Kofi Kingston.
I forgot about him. Wait, is the midget with them then?
Sure, I don't know. I mean,
Are there 4 of them? I thought there were only 3.
There's only 3. It's just the...
Is Big E with them at all?
Yeah, that guy with the big boobs or whatever, and then you got...
Well, no, that's 4 then. If they have the midget with the afro, that's 4.
K-Quick's not in it, or whatever his name
That's
is.
R-Truth.
Yeah, he's not in it.
Yeah, he is.
No, it's just those 3 guys, yeah.
Well, what's he doing?
He's looking for a job somewhere, I don't know.
He's still employed.
Yeah, he's probably handing out popcorn somewhere, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
He's in the Rumble.
All right, moving on. Then we have...
He is in the Rumble. There you go. That's where he's at.
Oh, God. Then we have the ladies match, a.k.a. the Total Divas Extravaganza.
Why even talk about it? Who
cares?
cares?
I like Paige.
That's fine.
You have the Bella Twins, who ceased being interesting 3 years ago. I don't really care about them. Honestly, you want to talk about politics backstage, that has nothing to do with except who they're dating. I don't care about either one of them. Although Nikki Bella, in the right light, much better than Brie. Brie's very annoying. Nikki has a better body. Paige, incredible. Natalia, great wrestler, horrible gimmicks. But beyond that, it's women's wrestling. There's only so much people care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. Like, look at TNA. They spend all the money in the knockout division. It doesn't get them anywhere. The next match. The New Age Outlaws versus the Ascension.
Can I say one thing, though? Why are the New Age Outlaws, I understand they're trainers or whatever, but why are they on a Royal Rumble pay-per-view wasting precious Royal Rumble pay-per-view time Instead, when there could
to
be
get the older viewers and they can
Yes.
still go. I
Obviously,
watched the
something's
Outlaws
wrong.
against Stardust and
these guys were still in 2008 in TNA.
you know,
People
you know
were
what,
complaining
though?
about that
because
then.
the problem was in TNA they weren't the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah, but
No matter what you say, it matters what your name is.
that's
I
fine.
mean, okay,
but
it's not like in ECW where you could come back, use your real name, and still be awesome. In TNA, it was just BG James, Kip James, and weren't they teaming up with the Bullet Bob Armstrong at one point?
Oh, it was horrible, yeah. But
Or
they were
he was
still
like a
then.
father figure or whatnot.
They wrestled last year's Rumble. Why they got to be here again?
It's a nostalgia thing. People
That's
will
great.
actually pay to see them.
I'd love to see that on a
However-
Legends pay-per-view.
However, the people that they're wrestling, well, to be charitable, there are some people who should never escape from the minor leagues, and these are two of them.
Now, who's this? The Ascension. Who are
Oh,
they?
you remember. Who's your favorite wrestling name? Connor?
Oh, them. Oh,
Yeah, the
my.
guy, the 5-year-old you're supposed
Yeah, why
to be
would you
afraid
name?
of.
Yeah, why would you name what Connor and Victor? Come on,
Oh,
let's get
Victor
real.
at least makes sense.
A
but
little bit.
Connor,
Yeah, I mean, come on. They're no Axe Smash, Hawk, and Animal, Sting,
well,
and Brock,
apparently
or
that's kind
whatever.
of what they're supposed to be, and it's not.
Why would you
working
name
at all.
a Connor? Come on, that's more like a heel preppy guy than that. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm sorry, fire them. I don't care. There's no redeeming qualities that you can do with them. You could find 2 other big guys, put them in the same gear, and they'd be a lot better.
Well, this is that PG, audience. So were they afraid to offend somebody with a gruesome name? I mean, come on.
Plus, honestly, this is the tag team division. What really are they going to be able to do in terms of impact? This isn't the Shield. This isn't the Wyatts. No one's afraid of these people. Like it's not like a workable gimmick. It has a shelf life.
Well, it's stupid. It seems like they set them up to fail. So I don't know.
Pretty much.
Beating the New Age Outlaws isn't that much of an accomplishment. So, I mean, they're way past the prime.
When they get sent back down to NXT, are they going to change the name to Descended?
Sure.
I would.
NXT, oh my.
Now, here's another one. It's funny because these 2 matches are actually tied together. The next match is actually tied to the previous one. The Usos, great workers, can't complain, versus The Miz and Mizdow. However, and we know WWE doesn't give a damn about continuity, but
Nope.
The Miz and Mizdow, if you don't follow the show, might have forgotten this. They actually jobbed out to the Ascension's first match on Raw. Don't really deserve a title match if that happens to you.
No, you really don't. You go down the ladder, but
Exactly.
once
that
again,
makes absolutely no sense. But they have no one else because they have 3 teams.
I don't even know, and it seems like common sense just seems to fall out the door with their, their writing in general. Their main event guy hasn't even, I guess, defended the belt in months.
I gotta be honest though, I do like Mizdow. I think they're funny. I think Sandow. I wish I could retroactively add him to Miz's career because he's much more interesting.
Yeah, I don't know
The
why.
Miz is much better with him. They do this whole funny imitation thing, and it's great. And in ring wise, they're not that bad. Although Sandow looks like he lost a lot of weight.
The Miz,
and not good weight.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he went to the gym and left his arms at home.
The Miz will always be the MTV guy to me, so I don't really care.
I can't get into him. I said whenever he won the world title, I said, you know what, a couple years from now, you guys are not going to look upon this guy favorably. You're going to think he's a joke. He doesn't deserve to be world champion, and he hasn't.
When you wear kick pads and you're not a martial artist, you just look foolish.
Well, they work, though. They cover your shins and everything.
Yeah.
Now we have the Rumble match, which I just...
Who cares? Really?
Ziggler, Ryback, Roman Reigns, Bryan, kill me. Rusev, Bad News Barrett, Bray Wyatt, Dean Ambrose, Goldust, Stardust, Big Show, The Miz, Damian Mizdow, R-Truth, Fandango... Wait. Oh, who the hell's Fernando?
I have no idea. No idea whatsoever.
Fernando, Diego, Fandango, Dustin Gabriel, and more TDA. I'm pulling for Justin Gabriel to win the whole thing.
Oh my! This looks like last year's Rumble with a bunch of people I don't really care to
Who
watch.
is Fernando and Diego?
I don't know.
That's not.
Who cares?
That's not the Lucian. That's not the Bullfighters, is it? That's not the Matadors. No, that's Carlos Colon or Primo Colon and the other guy.
Sure.
Honestly, out of this, you can really pencil out a lot of these names. It's only going to be Ziggler, Reigns, Bryan, or Ambrose. I don't really care about any of them, honestly.
So who do you think is going to actually win this Rumble?
I'm going to go with Ambrose. I think they're false flagging everybody to think it's going to be Ziggler, but I think it's going to end up being Ambrose. I think they're not impressed enough with the Reigns. There's not enough time to build up his character. Although, knowing WWE, it could very well end up being Ryback.
I mean, it's just like, I'm so tired of hearing about Big Show, Kane.
Well, they're in there just for filler.
Yeah.
You need big guys that are going to eliminate a few people. or make other people look strong by throwing them out.
I mean, isn't it time for some of these guys to retire? I mean, how much
They
longer?
need them. That's the problem,
Yeah.
though. And we're going to talk about that in a separate segment, how they keep dredging up the past and trying to make people stay relevant.
Yep, gold dust. There you go.
And finally, we get to the World Heavyweight title match. Nice of you to show up, Brock. It's only been 2 months. We have Lesnar wrestling Cena again. Seth Rollins, who he really doesn't wrestle all that much, honestly.
How much does he weigh? Like 170 pounds?
Well, you figure if they're booking him in about the same weight as CM Punk, and CM Punk is possibly going to fight at welterweight in the UFC.
Yeah, he's not.
Well, that's with the cut down. I put Rollins, looking at Rollins, I would say
Cruiserweight?
he's not that tall.
Yeah.
Wait, are we talking cruiserweight in boxing or cruiserweight in...
Probably, I would think
Because cruiserweight in boxing, I think he would be, too, because you have to be under 205 or under 200
Yeah, he doesn't look like he weighs 200 pounds.
Well,
if he does, just barely.
I'd give him 185 max.
Yeah.
I'd say that's about what Seth Rollins weighs, because he wears some pretty high lifts on his boots.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't care about this match at all.
No.
If you have Cena win, you've just effectively destroyed Lesnar's title reign and made it. There was no build-up. They haven't shown a reason that Cena got progressively better enough to beat Brock Lesnar after 2 more times. It makes no sense.
Sloppy.
If you have Rollins win, I feel like you're pulling the trigger a little fast, but then it completely kills the drama of having the Money in the Bank briefcase, although that would be interesting because if he lost the match, he would still have the briefcase and have an opportunity to get it back whenever he wanted, so that would be okay. If you put Cena in there, you're basically just saying we feel like he can make more money than any of the new guys yet again, or we don't have as much confidence in Lesnar main eventing because we're not sure of his contract status.
Yeah.
Honestly, this is a pick-em match. I don't care. I really don't care. As far as quality goes, though, this entire pay-per-view, those first 4 or 5 matches, cut them off. That could be an episode of Raw, and a bad one at that. I mean, that's everything that I've seen on Raw, especially the tag match between the Divas. I don't care.
Yeah, I don't understand the thought process behind a lot that WWE does, but it'll go back to what we're talking about. The old and the new. We'll get into that in a little bit.
We're supposed to have some surprises in the Rumble match, like the Dudleys coming back. I don't care.
Take them, get them out of TNA. I'm glad they're gone. See ya.
No. Bully Ray was actually useful in TNA. He was a good singles competitor. You can't deny that.
I get that, but I'm sick of them. I don't want to see them anymore. They can never come back, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
They're not going to work in WWE.
Good.
I can't take them seriously when they've accomplished so much around the world in the tag team division. And
But
to have
did they-
them come back and even struggle against some of these newer teams, it makes no sense.
Well, this is what kind of I think is kind of funny. It's like they're saying they're the greatest tag. No, they're not. The only reason why they're this accomplished whatever is because there hasn't been anyone built greatly enough to actually challenge someone of their status. They're just around. They're just winners by default almost.
Well, let me put it to you this way. It's hard to argue that when you look at their track record in every other company and how well respected they are around the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, now granted, a lot of it, you're right, has to do with longevity, the fact that they've been around so long.
Yeah,
but
most
can
of it
you
is.
fault them for that?
No, they're making money.
Like Brett Favre. To me, not somebody I would want if I'm going to take one game for a quarterback to win a game. I'm not picking Brett Favre because he'll throw a soul-crushing interception and kill it.
Mm-hmm.
The guy does have the most touchdown passes in league history, at least he did till Manning broke the record. Now, yeah, he played till he was 42, 43 years old, but he still threw the touchdowns. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the Dudleys, I kind of feel like they're a little bit of the same thing. The fact that they're still getting work and they were New Japan champions and everything else, that says a lot. The fact that they held all the belts and all the different brands and whatnot, say what you will about it, but that's a really strong ringing endorsement.
It is. I mean, to me, they're always just ECW table guys. I mean, that's just how they'll never be to me on the same scales like the Steiners, the Road Warriors, the Briscoes, and so on and so on. I mean, they just don't. You can't touch that.
But that was a different style too.
That was.
And
they're not the style I
The
like.
problem is that singles competition is so much more important, especially in WWE, because you have so many different guys that you have to get on the show and you have to showcase. That
Mm-hmm. There's too much going on.
It's
with
really
them.
hard to do, anything in the tag team division. A lot of teams aren't going to stay together that long. Now, there's some teams that I really, really like around the world that I feel like could get to that same level, but because of either their weight and having separate weight divisions in New Japan, like Time Splitters, Kushida and Alex Shelley,
Mm-hmm.
or just the fact that eventually they're going to get singles pushes. Guys like the Killer Elite Squad, Davey Boy Smith and Lance Archer.
Mm-hmm.
They would be a team that I would look at as, okay, these are a really strong, big, dominant heel team that could be the greatest tag team, but because they're eventually going to get singles pushes in New Japan, you can't put them in there either.
No.
So, I guess automatically it has to be the Dudleys.
Yeah, it's just winners by default. That's just
But, this
my
card,
opinion.
it's not worth... What's this pay-per-view going to cost to order? $50?
Yeah,
$55?
which is atrocious and outrageous for anyone to have to pay more than $30.
Why don't you get it for free on the network?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already have the network up, in my house. I already have every pay-per-view there is, so I don't really care. I'm not going to spend $14 or whatever to buy that trash. Well, we want to go down and actually see who you think's going to win this. Kickoff match, who you think's going to win?
The New Day.
Okay. Women's tag team match?
Paige. I know she's not going to win, but that's what I'm picking.
I'm calling the match of either, I guess, like being buried or being saved between the Outlaws and the Ascension.
Do you really think they're going to put them on there and bury them? I'm not sure that they would, but I wouldn't put it past them.
I wouldn't either.
They're going to win, but there's so much image rehabilitation they're going to have to do that, I got to go Outlaws. I don't see any way that this team can redeem themselves because they suck. I watch their matches. They're terrible.
Yeah.
The Ascension is not that good.
Tag match, title match.
I'm going to go with the Usos keep the belt because Miz and Mizdow are going to break up, sadly, which is going to suck because that was going to be my Halloween costume with my buddy Matt. So
well, the Rumble match?
I'm going with Dean Ambrose, but it's probably going to be... It could be either Ziggler. I don't think they're going to do Roman Reigns, and I hope they don't do Daniel Bryan, so I'm going to pick Dean Ambrose. Yeah.
Okay. Me, I don't really care.
Who I'd want to see? Bad News Barrett, but there's not enough time to build him up, and he's already IC champ. Out of all this, he's the one most deserving, the one with most of the look, and that can actually wrestle and talk.
Yeah.
But aside from the rest of these, I don't care what happens to any of them.
Main event? World title match?
I don't think you can have anyone else other than Lesnar win, or what's the point of even having him on the roster until WrestleMania?
Wouldn't make sense.
What are they going to do? Have him fight Ryback or Roman Reigns without the belt? Yeah, that's going to go really well.
I don't know why their Intercontinental title match isn't on this pay-per-view, but whatever.
I don't think he's defending it. He's in the Rumble.
Yeah, whatever. All right, well, that's our Rumble predictions. Do you want to transition over now to the use of old storylines and old wrestlers and gimmicks in order to revamp and revise, I guess, the casual viewer?
Yeah. I got to say that...
For ratings, yes.
I got to say that we're not only going to target WWE on this because TNA is just as guilty, if not even more.
They are so guilty on every end.
The problem is they're trading on brands that were trademarked in other companies that had nothing to do with them, and they're getting by on it and succeeding. Well, not succeeding with it, but that's what they're trying to push to the forefront.
Oh, TNA, they tried to do the DX rehash. They did the Steiners rehash. They did, almost like an NW.
The entire WCW thing. All of the factions. They actually redid a version of the Horsemen called Fortune.
Yep.
Now, thankfully, the Horsemen have been mostly ignored in that sense. Mm-hmm. They haven't had their legacy trod through the dust quite as much as some of these other groups like the NWO. And I think the only reason for that is because WWE has kind of really pushed to the rear a lot of that Horseman stuff, and they don't really want to acknowledge what at that time was a considerably better product. If you look at early WCW in the ring in 90 and 91, it was better than what WWE was doing.
Absolutely.
Even all the way up until 96, really.
Absolutely. You get some good matches with Kurt Hennig and Rick Rude and some others in WWF at the time. Well, Rude left in October 90.
But the difference between Vader versus Sting and the difference between Hogan versus King Kong Bundy is night and day.
Yeah.
No disrespect to King Kong Bundy, but it just wasn't as good of a wrestling match.
Yeah, that at WrestleMania 2 wasn't going to be as good as, Flair and Steamboat in 89. Yeah, I understand completely.
Or the Yokozuna title reign, no disrespect. It was solid in-ring work, but it wasn't the caliber of what we were seeing in mid-90s, or very early 90s WCW. It wasn't even close.
Late 80s, all through the 80s and then early 90s WCW, you had, NWA too, you had a lot, almost every match was unique in its own way, but it all had a good emphasis on athletic competition and pro wrestling. WWE was more for your entertainment, but you did get some good matches, like Tito Santana against Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Finals. That was a great match.
Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. You had some things in there. Michaels and Jannetty, Michaels and Bulldog. 90 through 93 were weird years. They were.
It was really a hodgepodge, especially in WCW. Very odd time to be a fan. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the rehashing. I mean, the NWO has been rehashing almost every freaking organization you could think of,
and that's understandable. New Japan's done the same thing with the Bullet Club to kind of pay homage to it, but it still feels like its own unique thing.
Well, that's what New Japan does. Though. They come up with the good, unique angles and groups. Like they're good for that. That's, I mean, WCW copied that. That's where the NWO came from mainly. So they're on top with that. But like you said, rehashing things. I mean, with the Horsemen, they were really close when they did that. What was that thing they did with Flair and Batista and all that? That was kind of
Evolution. Evolution was very strong. I like that. It had its own identity, though, because every one of those guys went on to become a world champion. That was kind of like the whole thing. And then TNA kind of tried to do the same thing with the Main Event Mafia, which some parts of it succeeded, but the second time they brought it back and put in Magnus, that didn't work very well.
You know what's interesting about that Ric Flair group? Was that Evolution? You know, it wasn't supposed to be Batista.
It was supposed to be Sean O'Haire.
No, Mark Jindrak.
No, Sean O'Haire.
I swear, Mark Jindrak.
It was Sean O'Haire.
I'll show you. Want me to show you real quick?
No, it was online. It was supposed to be Sean O'Haire. I'm telling you.
I'll show you. Hold on.
Right when Sean O'Haire died, they were talking about that. That was all the big news. It was Sean O'Haire. They even filmed him getting out of the plane.
Yeah, I know. It looks like Sean O'Haire.
No, it was Sean O'Haire.
Hold on, let me show you the picture.
No, I know that, but they also were going to do one with Sean O'Haire.
Were they? Okay. See, there's Jindrak right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he was supposed to be in some type of group or something as well. But, that's the McMahons or something, I don't know. Anyway, who else were we talking about? We were talking about Fortune, but there was something else you were talking about TNA. Oh, Main Event Mafia.
Right.
You know, that whole thing fell apart because it was supposed to be, they were supposed to rehash it in January at the time, but Booker T and Kevin Nash went back to WWE, so that kind of killed that angle. So then they did the whole Samoa Joe, and I understand, like, put Samoa Joe back in, Kurt Angle staying, but yeah, Magnus I could understand. But who else? Rampage Jackson and all that was ridiculous.
That was horrible.
You know, it's just another TNA rehash or something that just, you know.
With WWE, especially lately, look at all the guys they've been trading on and bringing back and having them win matches when they're not going to be with the company. The Rock beating Cena. Cena facing The Rock again and beating The Rock. You're just not getting anywhere. You're not helping the younger guys progress. You're not giving them a new foe. Same with Rusev. Well, we don't really have anything for him. Let's bring back The Rock for one segment. Then we're just going to kind of keep gradually pushing Rusev. We don't really know what to do with him. You have that. You have, bringing back RVD, which I don't mind because I like seeing him. But then, you end up putting him in the world title picture. He loses to Del Rio. But the sad part is, who were the fans more interested in? RVD. So it's already showing you that what you have isn't working when people would rather see these older guys and keep coming back to them because the alternatives that you have aren't that good.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you can come back and you can learn a lot, like with Wyatt working with Chris Jericho and whatnot. But at the same time, it's almost like a detriment to the other people because you're not letting these guys develop and face each other and learn on the job, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's not helping it. It's just getting, like, Jason talks about this a lot in our conversations. Just they cater to the casual fan, and now it Sting's back. Look at that, the hottest WCW wrestler almost of all time, and he's one of the biggest things on Monday Night Raw now because he showed up on Raw and people were excited about it.
Jason thinks that's going to be a bigger impact than it actually is. We talked about him. It's really only going to help those certain shows. He's not going to show up every pay-per-view. He's not going to show up every Raw or whatnot.
Special attraction.
It's not going to help the normal show.
I know, and this has been almost a problem in almost most companies for almost 10 years or so. They haven't really built up a lot of new stars.
If I'm going to a live event, am I going to see any of that? No.
Nope, not at all. You're going to get the bare minimum. The guys that are mid-carders and some main eventers. We're not going to get much.
I mean, we've seen this a lot, though. We saw WWE bring back the NWO. We saw them break off. We saw Hulk Hogan win the World Championship. We saw Ric Flair's somewhat successful IC title run. That wasn't bad, because it was different.
Yeah.
It was a belt he never held, and it was actually about the wrestling. We saw, the Ric Flair retirement match. We saw the Shawn Michaels retirement match. We saw Triple H versus The Undertaker 3 times. Again, avoiding completely new superstars. The only newer guy that he had worked with recently was, CM Punk at age 34 or 35, and Randy Orton at WrestleMania 21. If you look at his opponents in between that and now, Lesnar and everything like that, those aren't guys that are going to get over by wrestling the Undertaker. Those are just old retreads. In some cases, you had 2 rematches in a row.
You think McMahon's afraid to pull the trigger?
I don't know if it's that he's afraid to pull the trigger or he looks at the guys like we have and honestly says they will never get to this level as some of these other older stars. Roman Reigns is not going to be the next Rock. Dean
Mm-hmm.
Ambrose is not going to be the next Steve Austin. These guys just are not. I don't see it. I don't think you're at a point where you can ever get that big again.
Yeah, it's hard.
Because I don't think they're going to be used right, and they've been held back so long. Like, look at Dolph Ziggler. When he finally won a world championship, it was the world heavyweight title on SmackDown, that brand's belt, against Del Rio. And then he immediately lost it back. No one cared. It took too long to get to that point.
Well, I just don't think they try anymore. That they're the hottest ticket in town. Now they're the big boys on the block. They don't have to compete with anybody. They can run the promotion how they want to. So McMahon doesn't really have to worry too much.
True.
I mean, he does.
That is part of it.
It's a simple version. It's a simple,
I think
simplistic way to look at things.
Too, is that they get committed to pushing someone. That person gets hurt. They have to redo the plan. But they don't want to push the new guy too much because they kind of want to give the spot back to the other guy. And it gets so confused. They're pushing all these chess pieces across the board, but then having to pull some back and some forward and some back and some forward that they don't exactly ever commit to a main guy.
Well, the formula seems to be like what they do is they, at the Rumble or a little bit before, they start building up a few guys. WrestleMania, they win some matches.
Right. You have a title change and whatnot, and then it kind of fizzles out from there a lot of them.
Yeah, a couple guys get the big spotlight, then after WrestleMania, they try to keep going with that momentum, but they either screw it up or the wrestlers themselves don't come across as how they should with the fans and the exposure, and it just doesn't work.
Or they do something to cheapen their ascent, like having The Rock get involved in the Miz's match against Cena. Granted, a lot of the Miz's failure has to do with him himself. But when you take away the spotlight by putting in a much bigger star like The Rock, you're saying that this match cannot stand on its own merits. We're giving the fans what they would rather see, which is The Rock and Cena instead, sort of. And the Miz is just kind of there. Yeah, he won the match, but who remembers that?
Well, yeah. And that thing is really, when you think about it, besides like CM Punk and a few others, I mean, to a degree, a lot of the big stars are the guys that came from the Attitude.
And they're still being pushed.
They are. Monday Night Wars, and some that were just right after, like 2001, 2002, like Brock Lesnar, John Cena, Batista, whatever. And that's about it. Like that whole little era there. And now it just seems like, the newer guys aren't getting too much of a chance.
It was a much greater generation. The guys that are coming up now, I just don't see them getting to that level. Even when they let them win, they're being held back.
Yeah, there's some kind of hesitation, and that could be just Vince McMahon thinking they're not ready. There could be a lot of writing conflicts. There could be a lot of things behind the scenes.
And now with this whole NXT thing, you have all these people being groomed for future roster spots that don't exist right now. Mm-hmm. And when they do get them, they're going to push out a lot of people. And the sad part is, it might not even be the older wrestlers that are getting kind of stale. It's going to end up being the other younger guys that they're competing against, guys that deserve the shot more. And then you're just going to kind of get another cycle of recycle, and it's not going to be good.
Well, do you think that there's just too many wrestlers on the roster?
No, because that's a good problem to have. I just think that they're not having a good commitment to booking them, and they're not recognizing good, solid work. But they're also not looking at, can this person get over? They're not having those hard questions and paring it down enough.
Do they still have the brand extension thing?
WWE?
The split, yeah.
No, they have. They quit doing that because there's only one world champion now.
Okay,
and they decided it's easier just to, if we have some overflow, we'll have this guy wrestle on this show or this show. And we'll kind of use everybody, but most of the bigger guys are all going to be on Raw. Like SmackDown will have a couple segments, but it's not going to be as major.
Well, should there be all these shows, or should they start cutting back? Should they start trimming the roster a little bit? If guys aren't coming out to be... If guys aren't being perceived by the fans as superstars or exciting, or they're just not, selling merchandise, or they're just not... It's just not working for them. Shouldn't they get the releases and be done? Why waste the time?
If you're a wrestler, you can make that argument. You can say, yes, they could go pursue another opportunity with another company. But the thing is, they're getting more money.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless they could get some of these indie booking deals. But the thing is, if they didn't come up through ROH and everything, I don't know if ROH would want a lot of these other guys. But that's the other problem, too, is that ROH has so many people under contract that aren't even ROH wrestlers, like AJ Styles and everything else, that it's going to be hard to go anywhere. TNA doesn't have the money to sign anybody, and that's been our biggest problem with them, is that they don't have a roster. Yeah. So right now, there really is nowhere else to go. You'd rather stay in NXT and get your money and hope that one day someone's going to get hurt or something can happen and you can move up. That's the problem.
Well, Zack Ryder, for example,
Ryder should leave.
Why is he still there?
He should leave.
Honestly. They're not doing anything with the guy, I don't think.
But the problem is, I don't think there's enough interest, and I don't think that a lot of the other companies know how to use him or book him. Same with Dolph Ziggler. He could go to, TNA and be one of their biggest stars, but he's making more money and he's known. And they're telling him, all right, you might be 32, 33, but, we're going to placate you. We're going to keep you here. You'll get your shot eventually, and then it doesn't happen.
Yeah. See, that's why.
And then, we'll give you a world title, but by the way, we're getting rid of this world title, so, yeah, we don't really have a spot for you right now. It's a great problem for WWE to have, but there's not much they can, that the wrestlers can do with it.
Well, it comes back to, too, is the roster too big? Is there too much overexposure? Do people just get lost in the shuffle? I think a lot of times
it's more than people getting lost in the shuffle, because look at a guy like Kofi Kingston. I've never been a huge fan of his wrestling.
People like him, I think, though.
But he can get over. He can talk. He's apparently a great person outside the ring. He's supposed to be very nice, very fan-friendly, very engaging. And look what happened to him. He got stuck in this, I call it the IC cycle.
Yeah.
Where you get stuck and you either win the Intercontinental or United States title. You hold it for a while, you have some matches, you play hot potato with it, and then eventually someone that you wrestle gets booked stronger than you. You basically get jobbed out like he did the Bad News Barrett up like 2 or 3 title reigns ago. And then you kind of just fall by the wayside. He was doing really well, though. He had defeated Randy Orton in a couple feuds. Of course, they had Orton gain some ground back, and he beat him like the next 3 times that they wrestled, and Kofi kind of just drifted further and further back in the card. And now you have them in this whole bright-colored blue New Day group that's just not going anywhere.
Should they, And
it just doesn't make sense. It's like, well, this guy seemed to have potential. You were pushing him, and all of a sudden you pulled back. Why?
Well, should they make him like a heel?
I think that's what the New Day is. But the problem is, it's too late for that. You've already made him a comical heel. You've already pushed him to the point that this guy's not a serious threat anymore.
I think an evil heel would have been good for him. I think like some kind of one of those big-time drug lord type of guys.
I don't think that works. I mean, I think you could try to give him like MVP's gimmick, but like it's not the 90s, so you can't give him like the voodoo gimmick. You can't give him a lot of that stuff.
It's just something evil. But see, I think they want to stay away from that because it's PG related.
I think they should. What I would do with him is a guy like that. You kind of have to almost use the Triple H method. You hate me, but I'm good enough to beat you straight up. I think that's the only way they could do it. Just have him get by on his athletic ability. Or don't even, play too much to the whole heel and face thing. Do it like how New Japan does with like Tetsuya Naito or Nakamura and just kind of have his ability speak for itself.
True.
That would be a better way to do it.
Should he have a manager, you think?
Managers in this day and age are so hard to come by to actually get a good one. Not everyone is Dutch Mantel. That's the problem.
You'll never have that.
There's such a dearth of managers, and they have so many contracted wrestlers that they almost don't have the room.
That's very true. I think a lot of the problem is, too, like, lack of managers, good announcers.
And that's the other problem. They're also so
good interviewers.
To bad quality. Look at our announcers. Kerry Lawler's a Hall of Famer. For what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you can give it to the guy for all his Mid-South work and everything else, his wrestling career. But the guy's commentary, he's been terrible since 2002.
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Lawler, he's
not Jim Ross.
No. And he's memorable for Memphis, the Southern Wrestling, some AWA. But yeah, I mean,
But him trying to stay relevant and talking about Twitter and Subway, it just doesn't work.
Well, they're not letting him be Jerry Lawler.
And that's the other problem that I'm having with this company is I don't care about your social media stuff. Show me the wrestling. Talk about the match.
I know. Well, everything's so different now. All these sponsors, all this blah, blah, blah. That's the problem. They're just so worried about all that, trying to get everybody's, all these, companies making them happy, getting the sponsors promoted on the shows, talk about the upcoming merchandise, talk about the upcoming paper. There's so much anymore. It used to be, Gorilla Monsoon talk about, boy, this match is, this is putting me to sleep. Those days are gone, unfortunately, but sometimes I really wish they'd come back. You listen to Gordon Soley for like an hour and be like, wow, that was the greatest announcing I ever heard.
Yeah, but now you're just listening to a giant product placement.
That's all. Yep, a giant commercial and a giant script.
But getting back to, bringing back the old guys to the point that they're not interesting, TNA took it to the extreme and glommed onto people that had a former WWE contract and acted like they were gold.
They love
all
that.
The crap that they signed. They signed...
Waste.
Who was the guy, like the redneck guy that was with ODB for a while? The guy that we used to make fun of?
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, they brought in...
Was that the one country music guy that was in the tag team with Lance Cade, or was that the other guy?
Yeah, I don't know if he was with ODB, that Jethro Holiday.
Jethro Holiday.
Trevor Murdoch is what he was known.
What
Good
is the
wrestler.
point of giving a guy like that a contract, though? If you're going to give him a stupid gimmick like that, you're not going to use him. I understand, he might be a solid worker and everything, but these aren't workable things.
Yeah, they wasted his time, I think. I think he could have been a great face, the Texas face guy, but they didn't do anything with him. He teamed with Eric Young for a little bit, then briefly disappeared.
Or the guys that got thrown into the main event picture. Christian, solid mid-carder in WWE. You throw him right into the main events in TNA. Now, I got to be honest. I'm one of the people that feel like Christian's run actually helped them a little bit.
I think
he gave them a solid in-ring hand, and he was kind of able to get over for TNA.
He wasn't sloppy. He never gave you a bad match. I just think I got sick of him with Tomko and AJ Styles. That was stupid. That was
stupid, yeah. But, I mean...
Just a solid bad guy run. I think the problem, too, here's my problem with TNA at that time. They were so stuck on getting ex-WWE guys, which they still are, but they were so... stuck with one
the Hill ones, Kevin Nash, all of those guys. They weren't able to go, and they contributed nothing.
They make you not like the stars, though. It's amazing. Like, I got so sick of watching Kurt Angle every week in 06, more 07, 08. It was too much. And same with Christian. Those two guys were always like hogging the belt, and in the main event, it was like, all right, that's enough. When guys like Kaz that you wanted to see win the title because it was just
Kaz in 2008. I don't know.
I don't know why
they watched that build up so badly. He deserved another match. That was a great Impact main event against.
I always remember that, and I always wanted that. Made me love wrestling. Be like, oh man, I wish you would have gotten the belt, but they never followed up with that, and that's the problem. They let him slip through the cracks. The same thing with Chris Harris and Storm and all these guys.
Harris won for the money and left.
Yeah,
and it didn't work out.
I hope he's doing better though. I heard he had cancer. I haven't heard about it.
Oh, God, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I liked him.
He was a good guy. I liked him.
I liked his style. But yeah, I mean, you go back to how many times...
Look at 2010, the big free agent haul of RVD and Jeff Hardy and all that, which is great, but you didn't acknowledge a lot of what your own guys have done.
Well, that was a problem, too. Remember the whole new... it's a new day in TNA, the whole rebranding. Hogan's bringing all his buddies in from the Hulkamania tour. We got to see the NWO again. We had to live through another ECW rehash. We had to go... The thing I like, though...
The angles killed it.
Oh, that killed it. They made me hate Ken Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, because I got sick of him, too. But remember, you know what I did like? And it was a little bit different, but I liked it because I saw the two parallels from the separate decades almost go at it. And I know that the Nasty Boys weren't, but they had the Nasty...
Against the Dudleys.
I like that.
Cool. I like that.
It's like old hardcore meets new hardcore. Yeah, that was great.
You know what I did like? The build-up for the match was good. The match itself was not.
No.
RVD and Sting for the title.
Yeah, that was...
Whenever Sting did the whole thing and he spray-painted Deception on it, and you thought that he was actually going to be the heel, but here it turns out he was right all along. The only bad part of that was they didn't sign RVD to enough dates, so it didn't turn out he was the heel in the whole situation, and we never got to see how that played out.
And that's our pet peeve with TNA. Bad booking, bad decisions.
Heel face,
yes.
Heel face. Just playing hopscotch with it, and it's terrible.
Silly bad booking decisions. It's like ridiculous, but we could go on. We do go on these podcasts for hours about it, but it's true. I'm not speaking anything that's not true. Really, you make RVD your champion, then you don't have it.
Look at the
list
of
under contract.
Champions from that time.
Ugh.
It was like RVD, Angle, Anderson, all the guys that were ex-WWE. I mean, really, that's what it was.
Yeah, very true.
Sting was thrown in there and whatnot. It just wasn't what it should have been.
Yeah, definitely.
So I don't know. Do you think eventually we're going to get to the point where all the old guys are going to age out?
Oh man, I think we're at that point almost.
Where they all start retiring en masse to the point that they don't even do as many of the segments on Raw and whatnot?
Well, going back to that just makes you realize that this generation now doesn't have what we had, and they're in trouble.
They're not built up that well.
No. But it all goes back to the new kid, the big boy on the block, WWE. They don't have to try. They don't have to do anything that they don't want to do. And then I'm sure they want to build stars. There's no doubt about that. But they're not doing what the 80s and 90s era did for us.
They have such a media platform. They have all the relationships with all the different networks and everything. It's easy for them to make a star because they can just throw the guy into an anti-bullying campaign. They get a lot of ink just for doing that. And it doesn't matter what they do with the guy in the ring because everyone knows their name from then on. Mm-hmm. What's his name? Titus O'Neil. They put him in that stuff. Everyone knows who Titus O'Neil is. Like, if you ask a kid, they know who he is. Some of them, you ask them who RVD is. If they haven't watched Raw in the last 6 months, they don't know who he is. He hasn't been there. So, I mean, it's getting to that point where it's almost like there's a different form of stardom in WWE. Like, you can get to a different level.
Very true. I just feel like a lot of these wrestlers, they don't know. And this is the problem for WWE, too, I think. There's too much script. There's not enough off-the-cuff ad-libbing. Just being your personality, but pumped up a little bit more, like Randy Savage or Hogan, or whoever else, like Piper. We don't have that.
There's some that excel at it. Ambrose really good on the mic. Rollins terrible. There's just I just feel like the main events don't have the same sense of drama because the guys have wrestled each other so many times.
Very true.
Like Cena and Lesnar, you can only do that so many times until it just gets too familiar.
Very true.
Like Tanahashi and Okada and NJPW, they've only wrestled each other like 4 times, but there was enough time in between that. You didn't have a rematch 1 month later. They waited like 7-8 months and did some different things with each character subtly.
Very true. See, in New Japan, they're on top of their game. They know wrestling. They know what they're doing. You know, they get the right talent.
And they book it appropriately.
They do.
You can tell when people are being developed, but they never get rushed, and they never get jerked back.
Well, look at Scott Hall's son. His career, if he follows, on the right path and does the right thing, he's with the Bullet Club now. That's going to skyrocket him, and I think it's going to help him get the career that he needs to get. If he's good enough. I don't know. I've seen some of his matches. I think he's only
go so far,
yeah.
But I think that, hey, if you're working there, you're making over $100,000 a year and you're living in Japan, you're doing something right. Mm-hmm. So, hey, whatever.
More power to you.
Yeah.
Well, I think we covered everything.
Oh, the only other thing I wanted to get back to real quick with the Rumble was, I forgot to mention this. Do you think they need a format change?
I think so. I mean, I think the idea of the Rumble, I think it's fun for nostalgia, but I think the newer generation, I don't know. I think we've lived through everything. We've seen bigger battle royals. We've seen better battle royals.
Well, do you think there should be more of a trial by fire thing and make them feel like they really earned their title shot, instead of just throwing someone over the top rope?
Yeah, I think.
Do you think that either A, the end of the match should be changed like the one TNA Battle Royal and have it be a singles match at the end between the last 2?
I think that'd be cool. I like that.
Or if they had the time and everything, do you think they should have something like the G1 Climax and have a tournament? Where it's like, okay, I went through all of these different people. I ran the gauntlet. I had, a 25-minute, 30-minute match for WWE. That's really long. And, I earned the right. I beat the other top contender to face you for your belt at WrestleMania. Like something like that, where it's not like, well, I just casually threw Santino Marella over the top rope like Del Rio did.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting...
who, Joe Blow,
I'm fighting Edge on the opening match of the show. No disrespect to Edge, that was bad booking. So, yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my whole thought on it.
Well, that's the thing, too, like, you got to make it seem like they accomplished so much in the Rumble. Like, if they, like...
Yeah, they didn't. If they come in at, like, number 27 and throw out 3 people, I'm not impressed.
Yeah. But if you do something where, like, you're down in the final 2 and it's, like, almost a 20-minute match, that's pretty sweet, and people feel like they got their money's worth. I remember seeing it live last year, and Batista threw out the SWAT guy,
Reigns?
Yeah. People were bummed that he lost. They hated Batista. They booed out of the building. But I felt like that Rumble...
I would have rooted for Batista at that point. I don't want to see Roman Reigns win it.
I felt like no one really gave it their all in that match. It was just boring and, people just laying around and there really wasn't much going on. A few spots, but it wasn't, wasn't good. Like, I
feel like WWE's camera work has got a lot worse, too.
I'm sure it has.
It's too bright. Everything in the arena is too bright.
They want to be a, Hollywood production, the movies and all that. That's their whole shtick. I mean, geez. But, I mean, if Triple H does take over... I think you're going to see some changes, but I don't know. I don't think Vince McMahon's ever going to let that happen for a long time.
I'm sorry. I think a lot of the stuff that's happening that we hate is Triple H's idea. I've never been a proponent of him as a booker.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't watch this program that much, if at all. The only thing I watch is like little snippets or something or interviews.
I'm just so disappointed every time that I do.
Well, and that's the thing, too, and I tell people this all the time. This product is really never going to be how you want it to be. So I learned a long time ago with this product, even when I was a young boy, I'm like, you know what? After Hogan left and everybody else left, I went to WCW full-time, and I watched them, and I'm like, this is living up to my expectation. My God, they have everybody here. Why am I going to watch WWF? And here's the thing. They build people up, and they go through the cycle of they're going to push them, and then they don't push them, or they're going to push them, and then they just let them fail.
Well,
it's never what you want it to be.
Whenever you watch an older Stars DVD, like I have Tombstone, The History of the Undertaker,
yeah,
you can see, like, in each era, like 98, you can see the guy's build-up where he's in a title match or he's losing it and whatnot, but you get a sense of where he is. Nowadays, if you watch like a same thing, say you bought like 4 of the last 5 pay-per-views and you followed one specific wrestler from each of them, you would have absolutely no idea how far this guy is progressing, A, because he wrestled the same person 3 times in a row, and B, his next match on that, like say you follow Ziggler and he's fighting like Wyatt, and then the 4th show he's not even on the pay-per-view, so it's like, wow, did he really lose that much from this feud? Like, it's just kind of a sense of, did he fall down the well? Where'd he go?
Well, look how they built up Kane. Remember that? He beat Mankind in the Rumble. Or no, I'm sorry, at
Vader. He beat Vader. He beat Mankind. He had a
he
whole
beat
solid
Mankind at
push
Survivor
like that.
Series, yeah. And then he went right after the Undertaker at Mania. I mean, that was a great way to build a superstar.
Yeah, he debuted attacking the Undertaker, and then he kind of had like this whole little side thing where he went after some different people in
Yeah.
between.
That was fun.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you
it
got
was.
behind Kane thinking, "Oh my God, he could beat the Undertaker." And the thing was, too, back then there wasn't SmackDown, there wasn't superstars. Well, I think there might have been. I don't know if that was canceled yet. There was Shotgun Saturday Night. There was Livewire and a couple other shows, but there wasn't like this oversaturation like there is now, where there's too much. And there was about only 65, 70 guys on the roster. I mean, back then it was just so different. It was easy, and there wasn't all these writers and all that. Just a few guys, making the shows. So I think you have to take that into consideration. And it's like I think they need to take a step back with some of these Hollywood writers and get them out of there and get people that are interested in professional
The other
wrestling.
problem too is they have to walk a really fine line because a lot of the casual fans, when they see their favorites lose, tune out. Like when
They do.
RVD left, I quit watching for a while, and I'm sorry, but that's just how it was because I didn't care about anyone else.
And like my thing is, I've never really been a big WWE fan. I stopped watching mostly in the mid '90s, and then I watched a little bit once the invasion happened because I wanted to see what was going to happen to some of the WCW guys
Right.
because I couldn't watch anything else, and it was just awful. And then I watched the NWO come in, and that was all
Yeah,
right.
Chris, I hate to tell you this. You look at a tape from 2001 compared to now, you're begging for Jeff Hardy versus RVD in a hardcore match compared to the crap you're getting now.
But isn't that interesting too? Because back then we looked at it like there's no one here that we're missing, and there was a lot of talent that wasn't on television in 2001.
Oh yeah, we know
You know,
that. But I mean,
it's
historically,
unbelievable.
we look at like an in prime, Kurt Angle. We look at guys like that, and we're like, my God, we were spoiled. We had Edge and everything. Yeah, they weren't as big as stars, but looking at them what they are now, they
Yeah,
still
very
had
true.
enough.
Well, I think that sums it up.
Yeah, I'm back.
Chris, good night.
Good night.